Welcome to Soulfire Wisdom with Kate Olson. As an evolving spirit and change adventure navigator, it is Kate's mission to empower and guide you on your path and inspire your truest passions. She will encourage you to share your gifts, speak your truth, and ignite your inner wisdom and purpose. She hopes to do so with a little humor and grace, and her own soulfire passion. Kate talks with amazing guests who have embraced the pursuit and are fanning the flames of their own passion, purpose, and soulfire wisdom. Now here's your host, Kate.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Soulfire Wisdom and Tips, Tricks, and Triumphs Tuesday. So if this is your first time listening, I'm a hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner, Reiki master, and a life coach. But I like to call myself a change adventure navigator because I love guiding clients through obstacles and adversity to find their path, purpose, and peace. So today I want to talk about triumph and a little tip about that. So on the August 3rd show, I said that I was going to try to create a new habit. And that new habit was getting up earlier than, I naturally want to, and going out on my Ramada to drink a cup of coffee and see the beautiful view I have of the mountains. And so that beautiful view and the, peaceful, pleasant time out on the Ramada was my incentive for creating that habit. However, that August 3rd show was actually recorded in June because it was for during the break, and it was pre-record. And this was my first year in Arizona experiencing a real monsoon. So when I recorded that show, I had no idea what the monsoon was like. And so unknown to me, I told you that I would get back in 3 to 6 weeks and tell you the results of my changing or creating that new habit. But I had set myself up for a kind of a negative incentive because with the monsoon and the humidity that it created and raining, and they had a real monsoon this year in Arizona, a 55-year record, and the bugs, I actually did not want to go out there. So I didn't have a real strong incentive to get me to change my habit of not getting up early. So I think this is like 15 weeks now, and I have finally accomplished that habit change now that we are coming out of the monsoon. So my tip on that is to, when you're trying to create that new habit, make sure that you have a positive incentive. So we have a great show planned for today. My guest is Dr. Richard Nongard, and he's a licensed marriage and family therapist and an ICBCH certified professional hypnotherapist. And he's the founder of the ICBCH, which is the International Certification Board for Coaches and Hypnotherapists, or hypnotists. And that organization trains and certifies professional hypnotists and coaches. He offers courses, training tools for hypnotherapists online and in person and offers events to promote and educate on hypnosis. He's the author of numerous books, the most recent being Excellence in NLP and Life Coaching. So I'm really happy to introduce him now.
Hello, Kate, and everybody here.
So how are you today?
I'm doing pretty well.
Okay. So to start out with, can you just tell us a little more about yourself and, what brought you to this path?
Sure. Well, it was all a big accident. I drank my entire lifetime supply of booze early on, and I come from a long line of alcoholics, and so I was at the end of the rope early, and so I got sober through no fault of my own, but some interventions from some other people, and so I did what you do if you're an unemployed bartender who just got sober, and I started working as a psych tech on a drug and alcohol unit as I went to grad school. Well, in graduate school, as I was working on my master's degree, I was randomly assigned a practicum supervisor. His name was Dr. Dean P. Montgomery. And he was a psychologist who was a hypnotist. And I was randomly assigned to study with him. And so I went to his office and he said, well, since you're going to be seeing my patients in my office with me, you need to know hypnosis. And he was an Ericksonian trained hypnotist and introduced me to hypnosis just accidentally early on. And so I've been doing this now for, let's do the math here, about 33 years as a professional.
Wow.
Yeah.
I actually didn't know that. At least the first part of that story I hadn't heard before. I actually know Dr. Nongard because I took a couple of his courses. I actually got medical hypnosis certification from his classes. So I heard the part about you taking the Ericksonian, study.
Dean mentored me. There wasn't really a class. He learned from Milton Erickson in Arizona, and a lot of things were done very informally and through studying and observation. A lot of people go to Arizona to Milton Erickson's house. He worked out of his house because he was a polio survivor. And Dean had the fortune of learning hypnosis from him. And so Dean used that in his practice. And he taught me that I can help addicts with withdrawal. He taught me that I can help people sleep better. He taught me that I can help depressed folks become happier. And he taught me all kinds of things that hypnosis can help people with. And I've been fascinated with hypnosis ever since. And of course,
you actually got me to take a closer look at the Ericksonian viewpoint on things, because before I read your book on that, I knew he had important philosophies, but I thought he was kind of boring.
Right.
So how have you fared through the past year and, year and a half of the pandemic and everything that it's brought?
So other than the death and destruction it's certainly brought, and to my family as well, I moved to Houston in November of last year. My favorite uncle who lived here in Houston helped me I was in Nevada and he was here. So he was doing all the work kind of to help me with the house. And I moved here on Thanksgiving last year, and he got COVID that week and passed away. So lots of bad things have happened to a lot of people, but there's always an open door when one opportunity closes and another opens. This is what the entire Taoism is based on. The idea of the yin, the yang, that there's opportunity on both sides of the door. And while there's been lots of tragedy in the story of COVID over the last 18 months for many people, the reality is it's also brought some significant changes. So I've always worked with people online doing hypnosis and coaching online and working with people from around the world. I've been doing that for many, many years. First on WebEx, I think, and then on Skype when it was popular, then on Zoom. But the changes in the last year have been phenomenal because everybody has adopted the idea of what we had to do in an office, we can now do online. And online hypnosis and online hypnotherapy, I think, opens the doorway to more people learning that they can personally benefit from hypnosis. It helps people reach out that otherwise probably wouldn't have reached out. And more hypnotists are becoming comfortable offering their services online. And the result is, I think, that one of the good things about COVID is that it has opened the door to a new type of delivery for hypnosis, that it doesn't require that I'm actually simply sitting in front of somebody.
Very true. So now you focus mostly on training and educating hypnotists, but you had your own practice for many years. Can you tell us a little bit about the part that hypnosis played in your practice?
Well, I still see a lot of clients for hypnosis. I always maintained an office where I saw people up until November, March of 2020. That's when the governor of Nevada closed the offices, and I ended up moving out of my office, deciding to move to Texas. I haven't opened up a physical office here. I probably will, because I actually think that even though I do a lot of training and write a lot of books, you can't do a good job of training unless you're actually seeing people, because we're always learning new things and growing and experiencing changes in the way that we provide services. So for me, it's been 30 some years of seeing clients, and I continue to see clients. I love to see clients. I love to see them in my office. I love to see them online. And it's really it's really pretty cool to be with somebody as they make significant life changes. Most people don't call the hypnotist first. We're like the witch doctor. We're the last one they call.
Very true.
I'm working with a 67-year-old guy right now who's 300 pounds and 5'7". For him, weight loss is life or death. He reached out to me. He's 67. He's known he's had this problem for a long time. He's tried a lot of other things, reached out to a lot of other people. People go to the hypnotist, unfortunately, as the last resort. I wish it was the first resort, but he was so filled with hope when I met with him for a second session today. He had lost 4 pounds this week, which, by the way, is significant and good weight loss. Too much weight loss is actually unhealthy. We want to lose it slowly. About 2 to 3 pounds a week is actually sustainable and healthy weight loss. And it was fantastic to be able to see somebody who already has experienced transformation as a result of hypnosis.
Yes, that is very rewarding to be able to help people when everything else they've tried has failed. So from your 30 some years of experience, what would you say is it that makes hypnosis so powerful?
That's easy. It's a great question too, though. What makes hypnosis so powerful is the component of mindfulness. It brings us into the present moment. So many people are busy missing life because they're worried about not being able to hang on to life. What I mean by that is this. I was at my son's college graduation, I guess in 2018, and he was the equivalent of the valedictorian at University of Oklahoma. And he got to do the speech for 12,000 people, big award winner. And all those parents brought their cameras so they could take pictures, so they would have a picture of that moment. I intentionally didn't bring a camera. I turned my phone off during the presentation. I had faith the University of Oklahoma probably would hire better photographers than me. So that was one. But second of all, I didn't want to miss the moment by staring at it through the lens of a camera. I saw this in Hawaii. I was on vacation in Hawaii, and everyone was looking at the beautiful sunset on their vacation through a camera so that they would have it later, worried that they wouldn't have it, that they would miss that, rather than being able to enjoy it in the present moment. So evolutionary biology, the way that has worked over the millions of years that people have become people, is that it scans the past experiences to predict the disasters of the future. This is how we store up enough for winter when the ice age comes and we have, food to sustain us till springtime. We scan the past so we know what the saber-toothed tiger is doing so that when we go around the mountain, we don't get eaten by the tiger. But this doesn't really serve us very well in the modern world. And what most people are doing is they're carrying around the regrets of the past, or they're lamenting their decisions, and they're ruminating about the past. Or they're off into the future, anticipating the disasters and the fears and the anxieties of the future. And the reality is, no matter what's going on, no matter how difficult it is, as long as we're breathing, we're actually okay. And the only time that we actually have is this moment.
Yes. And if you're stuck in one of those others, either the past or the future, you're really missing it, as you said.
Well, the great Master Oogway taught us something important. He said that yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. All we have is the present, and that's why it's a gift. Of course, the great Master Oogway is the turtle from Kung Fu Panda. Wise words of wisdom from
Yes,
Pittsburgh Studios.
we have to,
Right.
contemporize it. So what influenced you to pursue the training and educating of other hypnotists?
So I'm licensed as a marriage and family therapist, and I early on started doing 1994. I started doing training in substance abuse intervention and family violence and other issues that were of relevance to mental health professionals. And people would ask me, they'd say, "Oh, you also do hypnosis. What about hypnosis?" They asked me questions about hypnosis. So I began doing training for continuing education hours for mental health professionals and in hypnosis. But there are a lot of other people who are interested in doing hypnosis professionally. People who might come from a teaching background. Maybe music's very hypnotic. Music teachers make great hypnotists. Salespeople are using the skills of covert hypnosis and hypnotic language, really the heart of Ericksonian hypnosis, to help people make a buying decision and a choice. People can come to hypnosis from all different types of professions and backgrounds and bring their expertise. And so I began to offer the training to a much bigger audience, and it's really been great as I've seen people with, sometimes a ministry or a spiritual background learn how to use hypnosis to help people in a very powerful way. People, again, from a sales background, a teaching background. Really, there isn't any profession out there who's probably not using hypnosis. Whether they know it or not is a different matter.
Yes.
But using hypnosis as a tool, and by learning the theory and the processes and the procedures and the steps for using hypnosis effectively, they can either become more effective at their existing job or effective at opening the door to being able to help people in a new way as a hypnotist.
Yes, very true. I was surprised when my background was in sales and marketing,
Right.
and I was surprised at some of the, techniques that I had used and not known where they had come from.
Well, and what's interesting is that it goes both ways. I always tell therapists you have to learn sales and marketing. The reason why is if you're good at your job being a hypnotist or a therapist, you need new clients. So you better understand marketing. But really, what's really important is if I want to sell the idea that you can let go of your obesity and become healthy, I have to sell that idea. I have to close it. It's a closing technique, and that's what really makes therapy effective. Really, it's not a sales closing technique or even a hypnosis technique. It's a communication and an empathy and a presence technique, and that's what hypnosis is all about: being able to be fully present with people in this moment, because this moment has the ability to transform anything.
Yes. So can you tell us a little bit about your research in hypnosis? I know that's an area that you've delved into.
I'm actually a collector of research. So, a research psychologist or university research is conducting studies and doing tests and those sorts of things. And I've never participated in those, although I have a lot of colleagues and friends who are, have been directly involved in actually doing peer-reviewed research. What I am is I'm a collector of this research. So a lot of people don't realize that hypnosis is not a complementary and alternative therapy. It's a first-line intervention. The research is there that shows hypnosis is an effective tool for changing habits and behaviors, for restoring a person to health, for preventing illness, for faster recovery. There are over 12,000 peer-reviewed studies that use the word hypnosis that demonstrate the power of hypnosis to actually help people in very significant areas of life. My favorite website is not Google, it's scholar.google.com. And that only searches peer-reviewed research. It doesn't search anything else, journal articles. And you can go over to scholar.google.com and you can type in hypnosis cancer, hypnosis anxiety, hypnosis stop smoking, hypnosis goal setting, hypnosis sports performance, hypnosis Olympic athletes, whatever you want to type in, and you're going to find somebody's probably researched it. And here's the crazy thing. There are a lot of things that are hypnosis that never use the word hypnosis. Mindfulness meditation, visualization, therapeutic relaxation, breath work. I mean, the list could go on and on and on. So if we want to take a look at the studies that never use the word hypnosis, but certainly use hypnotic methods, we're looking at hundreds of thousands of studies. So I like to stay on top of what works. And that's the other great thing about research. The research actually tells us what methods were used in order to produce the result. So as somebody who's doing the work, it tells me these are the methods that are most effective. We don't have to guess. There's educators out there who are informing us as to what the best approaches in hypnosis are, and we can use those to help people.
Yes. So in your background, did you take psychology or did you take just strictly the marriage and family course to get?
So my educational experience is pretty eclectic. I have a bachelor's degree. I don't have a BA or a BS. I have a bachelor's degree in ministry, and I started out with the desire to be a minister. That I was the youth pastor at a church. I was probably 22 years old. And I got fired for being a drunk. They the pastor and the deacon walked into a bar that I didn't think I would ever be discovered at, and that ended my ministry career. So I went back to bartending because I knew how to do that. So I got a bachelor's degree in ministry. I have a couple months of sobriety. What am I supposed to do? So I decided I would actually go get my MDiv, my Master of Divinity. And I always say, like Carl Rogers, who crossed over from Union Theological Seminary to Columbia Teachers College and became, of course, one of the most famous psychologists of all time. I crossed from the MDiv program over to the master's degree in counseling psychology. And so I have an MA in counseling psychology, became a licensed marriage and family therapist. My doctorate is actually in transformational leadership in cross-cultural engagement. And that's from Baki Graduate University. And I didn't want to do a doctorate in counseling because to me, it just seemed like doing more of the same, right? Just a little bit more of the same. I was already doing regular updates in education. And the cross-cultural engagement studies and leadership studies really helped me deal with systems and groups and communities. And here's the thing, I might work with one person, but I'm affecting the entire family system, the entire community. So that was just I think a wonderful program that really helped me get some depth. And catch this, Kate, this is pretty cool. I remember earlier I said that this is the only job where if we do our job right, we're unemployed.
Yes.
We have to do marketing. And I've always been pretty good at marketing, but nobody ever taught marketing to me. And so this month, I actually started my MBA in business marketing. So there you go. I'm going backwards, doing another master's degree. Congrats.
Well, I always think it's interesting to see the path that people take because it affects a lot of times they get to the same place, but it affects what ideas they've encountered along the way. Like I got a bachelor's in psychology, and it was at the time when there was this battle between behavioral psychology and clinical psychology. And the college that I went to was very focused on the behavioral. So the science and the research, they thought everybody should be doing that. So I worked with rats. I wrote the research papers and all of that. And then when I started going to graduate school, I went for counseling. So and I did it through the education department. And so I got that clinical part, that, that side of it, which was, two different sides of the coin. And then what I've come across through studying the coaching and the hypnosis kind of ties the two together. So.
Yeah, and it's interesting the way I'll study all these different techniques, and I think we're probably within a few years of each other age-wise. So I was, studying, of course, cognitive behavioral therapy, and that was the big thing in our age bracket. But here's the deal: techniques change over time.
Yeah.
Now we recognize, of course, what we might call third wave behavioralism or contextual psychology as being most effective. But here's the real research. The real research shows that the method, the technique, is actually one of the least important variables. The most important variable is our relationship with the client. Do we care about them? Are we attending to them? Are we present with them? Do we actually enjoy helping people? So hypnotists, counselors, therapists, what's far more important than I meet a lot of counselors and hypnotists who actually use bad techniques or outdated techniques. A lot of my colleagues, they don't know anything about third wave behavioralism. They went to grad school 30 years ago, right? And yet they still have great results, and they have great results because they're good people. In hypnosis, I hear hypnotists say, "Oh, I'm a regression hypnotist. So regress the cause gets all these people." It doesn't. People are getting well despite the techniques you're using because you're an awesome person. Give yourself some credit because you have empathy, concern, compassion, connection, rapport, and you care about people. And that's what's really far more important than even training or the methods.
Yes, it is to a certain degree. But if a person has good techniques, it can really help the client because the client is the one who's doing the work. And
that's why I like to stay on top of the research. When I have a new client, I want to use what's most likely to work. And if I know the research, I know what's most likely to work. I might become very experimental or experiential with somebody doing things I've never done before later in the process. But you're absolutely right that keeping current on techniques is important because I want to be able to, I've never met the client before, first time they're in my office. I want to use what's most likely to work. And the research now shows it's really a combination of behavioralism with cognitive therapy. There's a missing component that B.F. Skinner missed and that Albert Ellis missed, and that is the power of language. This was Milton Erickson's major contribution. And so fortunately we have some new strategies and techniques and ideas in relational frame theory or acceptance and commitment therapy and dialectical behavioral therapy. What's interesting is sometimes hypnotists say, well, wait a minute, Richard, aren't you teaching psychology there? The reality is those folks are actually, in many cases, King Solomon said it best, there's nothing new under the sun. They're actually practicing Buddhism without ordination because these ideas are as old as the sun. Nothing is new. And the way we express them and the way we experience them and contextually is always changing and different and evolving. But the ideas of mindfulness and the value of the present moment, the ability to find on both sides of a scenario and situation opportunity. That's the idea of the Guiguza, 5,000-year-old Taoism. Is an idea that still helps create change today.
True, very true. So, can you tell us a little bit about self-hypnosis, how that works and how it can be used?
Yeah, I've written a couple books on self-hypnosis. One of those books is titled "The 7 Most Effective Methods of Self-Hypnosis," and I'm surprised at how popular it is. I was just looking yesterday; there's about 250 5-star reviews on it from just the last year. The book's been out a little over a year. People are really interested in self-hypnosis. Self-hypnosis, sometimes referred to as autosuggestion, uh, autogenic training, creating from within myself, all strategies for taking control of our thoughts, our feelings, our behaviors. And self-hypnosis really isn't rocket surgery. It's actually pretty easy to do. There are a lot of different strategies that we can use. And here's the cool thing. Self-hypnosis doesn't even take 45 minutes. I can do self-hypnosis in a minute. All I have to do is bring my attention to the present moment, have an open mind, share with my higher self the intentions and the affirmations that'll help me make lasting change, and then move forward from this moment into the next moment, taking action on those things. And we can use, yes, relaxation strategies to reinforce this, or visualization, and we can create a process that has ritual or value. Ritual always has value, or Catholic Church, 2,000 years old, very, very, very enjoys ritual. Lots of religions do. These sustain time because of ritual, familiarity, and self-hypnosis isn't complex. It's something that is available to each and every one of us without really much training.
Yes, I have people ask me about self-hypnosis a lot, and some of them are less afraid of self-hypnosis because, it eliminates the hypnotherapist, which seems to scare a lot of people.
Yeah, they think we're doctors, that's why.
Yeah, I was surprised just the other day when I went to my accountant to file my taxes, and she didn't know I was a hypnotherapist until the very end when she asked me what I did. And I told her, and she said, "Oh, I would have been, afraid if I would have known that from the beginning, because I would have felt like you could just make me do what you wanted."
Well, Hollywood hasn't done the public's perception of the hypnosis any favors. People think, back to, the old time, horror movies, right? And Frankenstein, is an Igor or mindless drones following in a hypnotic state, and Dracula, look deep into my eyes. In the movie Office Space, recent movie, I guess, maybe 10 years ago, Jennifer Aniston and, this guy, they work at a restaurant as waiters, waitresses. He goes to see a hypnotist. The hypnotist dies halfway through the session, so he never gets unhypnotized. And so the whole movie is about him being stuck in hypnosis. Well, these things can happen in Hollywood, but they can't happen in real life. This isn't the true nature of hypnosis. Of course, the religious opposition to hypnosis, the fear of the hypnotist himself, goes to we don't want anyone else taking control of our mind. Well, I don't take control over anybody's mind. I help people use the skills within them to use their mind in the way that the mind was intended to be used, and that is in positive and productive and healthy ways. It's impossible if I could take over somebody's mind. I wouldn't be talking to you today.
Yeah, you would
be sitting on top of my private island
something different.
On my private island kingdom with my big pile of gold.
So how can hypnosis be a tool in helping people to reach their highest potential?
Well, the thing about all of us, most of us don't reach our highest potential. And the reason why is we have limiting beliefs. These are things that we believe to be true that actually aren't true about what we're capable of and what we can do or should do. These often comes not only from society and culture. They can come from our parents. They can come from our own from our own significant adult relationships, non-supportive spouses or partners, and what we tell ourselves we act on. And if we tell ourselves things that aren't true, we'll act on those things. So if I think to myself, well, I'm too old to get an MBA, then I won't apply when I'm 55 to an MBA program, right? Yeah. But if I say, if I believe, well, I got a couple of good years left of doing some business, so I can, I can benefit from this. Then what do? I'll look for the opportunity. I'll enroll in a program, and so we can change the messages that we're telling ourselves. We have 50,000 thoughts a day. That's a lot of thoughts. These are self-talk, fragments of a sentence. These are, non-specific feelings and judgments. Like a fish swims in water, a people swims in thoughts. We don't even know what they are. We're not. They're all at our subconscious level, and by being able to change our self-talk, this is what the heart of autosuggestion is. We're teaching ourselves to transcend any of those things that are holding us back and to actually be the best in this moment. Just last week, I was at a conference in Florida, and Tony Robbins was one of the speakers, and he said something that was, pretty interesting. He said the definition of happiness is motivation, or the definition of happiness is progress, right? Because everything is either growing or dying. And so as long as we're making progress, we're happy. We have to be making progress. And when I meet people who are depressed or not happy, these are people who are stuck. They're not growing anymore. And it's our thoughts that control whether or not we grow. That's what we water our progress with right thinking.
Yes. Yes. So tell us about a little bit about your books, and specifically the latest book you have, The Excellence in NLP and Life Coaching. Yes.
There happens to be on my desk because it's the most recent book I've written. I've written 28 books. Some of these books are hypnosis books. Some of these are counseling books. I've written a couple leadership and business books. Wrote a book titled Viral Leadership that the former CEO of General Electric Capital wrote the foreword for, and Chris Nassetta, who's the CEO of Hilton Worldwide, wrote a blurb for the back of the book. Viral Leadership used to be a good book title before COVID. Not such a great book title now. But I've written some books that I think can, truly help people. I wrote a book that's kind of fun called The Step Spouse. How to stay sane when their ex is driving you crazy, right? I wrote a book called The Couple's Treasure Chest that teaches couples how to store up marital treasure rather than cashing in green stamps of really distrust and dissension, that most often resentment that people often save up. But most of my books are hypnosis textbooks that train other people in hypnosis, NLP, life coaching. And those are script books. Those are kind of how-to books. One of those books is called Reframing Hypnotherapy, and it really talks about integrating contextual psychology or third-wave behavioralism into hypnosis and helping clients really stay in the present moment. And I think I'm probably most well known at this point for all the books that I've written, because that's actually a lot of books.
Yeah.
I enjoy writing, so there you go.
Okay, so the Excellence in NLP and Life Coaching, that's directed toward coaches.
Yeah, coaches, hypnotists, therapists, teachers, anybody who's mentoring, leading, helping other people. It could be a pastor. It could be an elementary school teacher. The language in there probably is geared towards the coach and the therapist from the perspective of a business coach or somebody who's helping people deal with their emotional blocks or overcome those limiting beliefs. Really, there are lots of strategies in there that are really useful to anybody who's in a leadership position who wants to see others reach their highest level of potential.
Okay. So what is the greatest challenge that you encounter in the work that you currently do?
I think that probably the greatest challenge is on a practical level. A lot of hypnotists and coaches and others, they have a really sincere desire to help people, but they have no clue how to market themselves and to tell people about their services. They, do random Facebook lives that nobody's watching. They post a 10% discount, which people don't pick a helper based on price. And they just have no clue. They get so frustrated that nobody's calling them. And so I've become really passionate about helping others market their services, build websites that have two-way communication so that they can enter into and create community. Because that's really what leads to success. So I think the biggest block that professionals have, again, is just an inability. They know how to help people, but they don't know how to find people to help. And I help them with that. The people who call me and schedule an appointment with me, I think their biggest problem is self-doubt. They don't believe they're worthy or that they should have good things in life. And the reality is we were created to have the best life. And we are entitled to the best life. And even if our own actions, because I've done a lot of things wrong in life, have led to some of our misery, we can forgive ourselves and we can move forward towards excellence. And I love helping people do that.
So then what's the biggest gift or benefit that you get from doing what you do?
Well, I love doing the work that I do. You know what? I got a favorite story about that. This is when I was living in Oklahoma, and I stopped to refill my big iced tea at a convenience store. Drink a lot of iced tea, and no sugar, by the way, just so you know that. Just tea water. I stopped to refill my tea, and I walk up to the check stand, and there's a guy standing there, and he's got a purple mohawk, and he's behind the counter, and he's got I don't know, he had like a nose ring tied over here to a chain on his, some guy sitting on a box behind him over there, clipped onto his lover's nipple, I guess. I don't know what was going on. And just a typical weird looking convenience store person late at night. I put my tea up there, and he looks down at me from the check stand. He said, "Richard." I said, "Yes." He said, "Hey, what's up?" And I said, "Not much." I didn't recognize him. He said, "You remember me?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And he's like, "I'm Bart." And I'm like, "Bart, good to see you." And he's like, "Yeah, Bart from your therapy group." And I had done a therapy group like 5 years before this with troubled teens. And he said, "Your group was so important to me." And I said, "Well, it looks like you got great things going on here. You got this job late shift at the." Oh, he said, this store is the best store to work for. He said, "They're really flexible with me." He said, "I've enrolled in the social work program at Northeastern University, and they give me a completely flexible schedule, so I'm able to stay in school. And I'm going to be finishing my social work degree next semester." And he's like, "And I really have to thank you for that path. So I'm really glad that I had a chance to see you. I hope you come back in the store again." I walked out of there with a big head thinking to myself, wow, the work that we do is awesome because we get to see people become their best. I bet you he's a fantastic social worker right now, really making an impact in his community. So we can see that the work that we do with somebody affects not just one person, but the whole community. And that's some powerful stuff.
Yes, definitely. So the next question is kind of a little bit off topic, but I've been asking all my guests for a while now. So I will ask you, what has surprised you most about life so far?
That nothing stays the same. That, people are like, "Oh, this COVID thing has changed everything." No, everything changes all the time. The COVID thing's not staying the same. It's going to change. Either it's going to get better or it's going to get worse. Nothing stays the same. Everything changes. Relationship change, finances change, goals change. Everything changes around us. And so this is why psychological flexibility is really one of the keys to success. Because if we don't know how to roll with the flow, we become scared and we become inadequate, and we become timid, and it blocks us from being able to rise to our highest level of potential and ride the change as if they are simply waves on the sea, rather than a hurricane bearing down on us.
Yes, I think that surprises everybody when they realize it or become aware of it. that.
Change isn't something we plan for. Change is already happening.
Right. So, if you could leave the listeners with one thought from today's show, what would you want that to be?
Live in the present moment. As long as you're breathing, you're okay, no matter what else is going on with you. Yesterday's a history. Tomorrow's a mystery. All we have is the present, and that's why it's a gift. Don't miss the power of the moment by regretting the past or fearing the future.
Okay, great. So, if people want to get in touch with you, find out more about anything that you're doing or hypnosis in general, how can they do that?
Well, there are two ways, really. Go to Amazon and just search for Richard Nongard. You can find any of my books or any other bookstore. If you like Barnes & Noble better or somewhere else, you go just search there. And then, of course, my website, which is subliminalscience.com. And subliminalscience.com is a page that has all my trainings and all my books and all of everything that I do on there. So subliminalscience.com is the easiest place to find me.
Okay. And if that's pretty easy, but if you forget that, you can go to the radio website, which is soulfireradio.com, click on guest, and scroll down to Richard's name, Dr. Richard Nongard, and the website is listed there. So thank you for being here and talking about this. I know, as much as we talk about it, it's still a subject that a lot of people don't really understand.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I was able to share, and I hope somebody benefited from it. So,
okay. And I do have a quote for the audience to take with them through your week, and that is, "You're the only one who can unlock your true potential, and hypnosis is the key." And that was said by Juliet C. Obodo. So thank you for listening. And we have another great show planned for next week. Next week will actually be the last show for Soulfire Wisdom. I've been doing radio show podcasts for 4 years now. 2 years of the Embrace Change with Kate, and now 2 years of Soulfire Wisdom. And I am just feeling like there's something new that I need to do, that a new direction I need to go. And so next week, I'll be having a guest host, Terry Britt, will be guest hosting and interviewing me about the book that I'm going to be releasing shortly and what I'm going to focus on going forward. And I'm not totally sure what the future is going to hold for me, but we'll talk a little bit more about what directions I'm going to be going in. So be sure to join us next week. There still will be things going on the Embrace Change Radio chat. So it won't be the end of everything, but it will be the end of Soulfire Wisdom. So thank you again for being here, Dr. Nongard.
thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to Soulfire Wisdom with Kate Olson. We hope you enjoyed the show. If we made you laugh, brightened your day, or sparked a new thought, we have succeeded in our mission. Join us next time when we'll share more secrets and truths and all the magic of transformation that is the journey to Soulfire Wisdom. Always remember, be fierce in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire.